Hey everyone, welcome to the Neo Marketing Podcast. Today we have a special guest. It's Jennifer Robbins Bryant from J Bryant Creative.
Jennifer Bryant Robbins.
J Bryant Robbins. See, I've already screwed up, folks. Welcome to the weekly Neo Marketing Podcast, featuring one half of the Golden Group C-Suite, Kyle Golding, and Pritch Pritchard, APR, PRSA Fellow.
No, it's okay.
So, Jennifer Bryant Robbins.
Yes.
I put it backwards in my notes.
No problem.
But J Bryant Creative,
Yes.
right? Okay. So tell us a little bit about how J Bryant Creative came about and what it is you do.
J Bryant Creative came about when I got tired of working in public accounting. I actually have an accounting degree. I've always loved writing, and I got into more of like business writing and learning about that as I was a public accountant. And so in 2011, I decided I was done working 80-hour weeks and started my own business as a copywriting agency. I didn't really realize I was doing copywriting initially, so I just started writing mostly for websites and blogging, and that kind of grew into more of copywriting, which is now conversion copywriting, specifically websites and sales pages and sales funnels.
So explain to the folks listening the difference between conversion copy and your standard copy.
We'll go back to content. So content is, what I say is content tells, copy sells, and then conversion copy is copy on steroids, essentially. It's selling with like a specific purpose. So, and that sometimes that's an actual product, sometimes that's getting you to click on a link to join your email list, whatever it is, it's one specific action, it's not a bunch of different things at once.
Excellent. So it's very specific and it has action tied to it, right?
Exactly, yes. There is one specific goal in mind with conversion copy.
So typically someone isn't calling you up wanting every piece of copy they'll need for everything they have, right? You have very specific goals in mind? Very
specific goals. Sometimes it'll be like a sales funnel, so we'll write the whole thing from like the first landing page, the email sequences, but there's a specific action tied to each step of that process. It's not just everything.
We talk a lot about a conversion on the show, but we also talk, of course, it has to have measurement, right? What things are you building in, and what differences do you have when it comes to conversion, when it comes to measuring the conversion in specific copy?
Sure. So conversion copywriting, everybody assumes it's mostly writing, but actually writing is just a third of the process. We start with research, and a lot of that comes from the client. Some of it I do, and then there's the writing, and then the third part, which a lot of people forget about, is the testing and validation. So that's where you actually go in. Ideally, we do some split testing. We test a few different things, and then go in and actually validate all of the data. Some people don't like doing that. They take the copy and they just run with it. But if you really want it to convert, you have to go in and look at the analytics and see what's working, what's not. Because copy, especially conversion copy, should be sort of a living document. You should be working with it and seeing what works and what doesn't. Because changing just a couple words can increase your conversions by double, triple digits.
So if you get people over the hard hump of, I can just write copy, any copy will convert, and get them into the idea of conversion, now you have to get them over another hump, right? Of doing your comparisons, doing your measurements, and editing along the way, right? Like you do with all marketing, good marketing, right?
Right, good marketing. It's a process. It's not just a one and done.
Right, exactly. This is the difference, folks. This is why we always preach, obviously conversion and measurement, but we also preach research. A lot of people want to skip the research process because either it sounds boring for them to do, or it sounds expensive and they think they just know what they're doing, but that research really gives you validation as to the direction you head to begin with, right?
Right, and who you're talking to. You need to know exactly who you're talking to if you want that message to convert, because somebody, depending on where they're at in the process, it's going to make a big difference in how you style the message and what you say.
Even more so when you have a specific goal in mind, which is conversion, right?
Yes.
As opposed to general copy, we do great stuff. Come and visit us, click on the website, etc. Right?
Right.
It's a lot more specific than that, right?
Exactly. That's more of just kind of showcasing what you do. Whereas if you want them to actually do something, that's the conversion copy. You need to know exactly who you're talking to. You're not talking to the whole world.
So I assume you have a lot of working situations where sometimes you're doing the entire process on the client's behalf. Sometimes you're working with their marketing team, with other copywriters, with other people in the marketing funnel, right, as well. What are your suggestions as to great collaborative efforts and ways to make that process work well?
Staying on the same page, having something, a Slack channel is always good, just something that has open communication with everybody. What I get into a lot is especially working with other designers, so that I write the copy and they have the design for the sales page or website, and then you get them together and it doesn't work. So if there's a collaborative process along the way, you're able to make sure the copy's tying into the design and everything's working properly, and that's where you really get the conversions. If there are two different messages coming through in design and the copy, it's going to be a mess.
And that goes all the way back to, we talked about research, but starting from a position where you really know what you're trying to accomplish, who your audience is, who you are as a company, etc., right?
Yes, yes.
It makes that function a lot better.
Right. There's some basic information that you need to know before you start really anything, and that's your ideal client, your unique selling proposition, all of that wonderful marketing.
So I want to go back to how you transitioned from accounting and banking into creative services. It's something that you don't hear very often. I describe myself as being 50% left brain, 50% right brain. I do creative, but also do strategy and business development. So I'm very curious to hear another person who has both sides of the brains here. So, tell us how you made that leap and how you made the commitment literally to quit that job and jump into what you're doing now.
Honestly, I was in my early 20s and decided if I was going to do it, that was the time. That was part of it. I've always been kind of that 50% as well. Growing up, I wanted to be a pediatrician who wrote children's novels. So I've always had that, both sides coming up. Chem 1 knocked the idea of medicine out of me freshman year.
That'll do it.
Yes, but I chose accounting because my parents have accounting degrees and it seemed very straightforward, which it's not really math, it's more logic and making sure things work. But having that business background has been helpful because that helped me transition into more of the copywriting. And I got into writing because a lot of accounting firms and different businesses like that need people who understand accounting as a language and then turning it into actual copy and content. So that's how I got my start, was I transitioned that way from working with mostly accounting-based businesses and then kind of grew from there. Took courses. I actually kind of interned with some other higher level copywriters to really master it instead of going back and paying thousands of dollars to get a master's.
And I would recommend that too, as well as doing as a great teacher, right? Especially
Exactly.
in creative services and what we do. And then of course it's going to change tomorrow, right? Because everything changes in this business.
Right, especially, the digital world, I started in 2011 and things have changed so much since then. So if I'd gone back, I would still be learning as I go.
So there you go, folks. I'm very proud of you for not having a general copywriting business, but a very specific conversion copywriting business, because that's where people make mistakes is they try to be everything to everyone. And so very excited that you are very specific in what you do. If this is interesting to you folks, if you guys need to add this to your team, to your marketing efforts, we're going to have links to J Bryant Creative on the website and all the places that you find the show. And we'll be making sure to link back to Jennifer's stuff so you can hit her up, ask her questions, and see if maybe you can work together sometime. Thanks for coming by the Neo Marketing Podcast today.
Great, thank you so much.